人いるんですよ。もっと私を見てくださいよ。
Nakase being the Taxi-Yuri type here. We opened this week with some very obvious reused animation from the first episode of the show. Yeah, it was basically Kagari's concert minus Nachi and Minamo, and yet still including that little bit of PTSD for me, good lord. But yeah, while admittedly a little cheap, I do understand this sort of quarter-cutting measure, as it is meant to maintain a reasonable budget for the show, especially when they put more emphasis on the song production for this episode, as we are going to get 2 for the price of 1, so I actually say it's a pretty worthy sacrifice. Anyway, this first song, Soulism, actually rather cleverly foreshadowed the main conflict of this episode, with basically being a song about encouraging people to pursue their dreams with no restraints or trepidations, which for some is definitely easier said than done. Also, predictably enough, the opening did change a little to include the Red Queen now unshadowed, and yeah, she actually looks kind of creepier without that blood red effect blocking her features. Anyway, the episode proper opened at the library, where we got to see a little more Sumie, which might be the show reminding us that she's going to be a thing, in this case in case they want to make her the Sixth Ranger. But yeah, she offered to finish up tidying up, which let Kagari catch a glimpse of a girl who, judging by that one bit earlier in the episode, was going to be like the side Kamiki of the show. Oh, never mind. It's actually Aqua after she cuts her hair. Kagari was actually acquainted with this girl named Hayate Hasegawa, who was a member of the track team. Said runner girl asked if it was hard to pull off the whole song diva of a virtual isekai thing. You could even say the stronger the love, the better you get. Seriously, what's with all these coincidences between these shows? Point is that this was meant to show how Kagari had managed to pursue her passions very effectively, whilst Hasegawa was having some clear issues. Like, she was clearly a good runner, but as we'd see, this episode would end up kind of expanding on the themes of that Idol Precure episode we reviewed yesterday by throwing an extra wrench into things. Also, I think another good reason they reused the animation at the beginning of the episode was so that they could have these amazing backgrounds. Meanwhile, the band Snatch began discussing their new main goal going forward. With their queen having taken an interest in the princesses, the band boys figured that they should try to draw out the upper limits of their abilities and maybe eventually farm those powers when the time was right. Of course, this was meant to establish that even if they do lose the fights for the next few episodes, they'll still at least achieve minor victories by pushing our heroines to their limit and pleasing the Red Queen, which, hey, at least these guys actually have goals. Back with said magical girls, they were in gym class where the game was volleyball, and Nachi decided to try out her double fist slam on her bestie. Yeah, that is not what should have happened.
Carolina finally pushed one through Sterling. Brown Sterling! Did you see that?
Fortunately, Hasegawa didn't suffer any brain damage when Kagari accidentally hit her with a ball, but she did end up revealing that something was clearly bothering her. This led to a really wholesome exchange where Kagari showed off one of her best traits, which was her motherly side. It was something that helped her teammates come out of their shells a little more, and of course she wanted to do the same for Hasegawa. In this case, she started by giving a little bit of her backstory of her early days in the Alisphere, where she felt free to pursue her own brand of music that wasn't just the classical theater stuff that she had likely been trained in. Of course, Hasegawa felt a similar freedom, if not more so, when sprinting on the tracks. However, as we'd see later, just running wasn't the issue. Later, the princesses went to the Alisphere to just kind of hang out, though interestingly, Minamo noticed that Nachi was still doing her own thing, that she was kind of keeping a secret from her bestie, which again might be hinted at her becoming the Sixth Ranger of the show. For Power Rangers fans, it's kind of like the mystery of the Gold Ranger from Zeo, who had like a bunch of red herrings, who all turned out to be false and it was some new guy. Seriously, show, you better not pull that same crap. However, Kagari was still thinking about Hasegawa, who at the same time was also in the Alisphere, and of course an obvious target for Drun. Though he noted that her muse essence was actually kind of low, and yet he felt a hidden potential within her that he wanted to poke and just let run wild. This would become very significant in just a bit, but before that, he made a very interesting comment. So there was a time when guys were allowed in the Alisphere, specifically in the very beginning. Yeah, this was interesting because a very plausible theory that I keep hearing is that the Red Queen might have been one of the legendary princesses of the past who, for whatever reason, became an evil queen. Back then, perhaps she even managed to form her own band of knights who even now remain loyal to her. It's intriguing stuff, and I do appreciate how they're subtly giving us these little hints as the series goes on. Anyway, he created a powered-up knight which the princesses engaged. And notably, Kagari got her own solo transformation this week, unlike last week when Nagase was simply in the middle of a trio transformation. In this case, I think this is more meant to pad out the runtime of the episode, which yeah, that's the kind of corner cutting that I don't approve of, unlike reused animation, but oh well. The initial fight against the Scrubs was kind of underwhelming, with only like a few neat moves here and there, but I did appreciate how Kagari remained the one princess who really emphasized her notes whenever she landed a blow. That's always an exciting and fun little touch. And things did pick up when the knight entered the chat. Of course, it took on the traits of Hasegawa, or maybe even Goldship by the looks of it. However, this drama arc was even more unique in that it could actually talk, which thankfully the princesses and even Drun pointed out because yeah, it's very unusual. They didn't really explain why, but I'm just gonna guess it's because unlike other victims who were picked off when they were in the middle of passionately pursuing their dreams, Hasegawa had some hang-ups that none of them had, resulting in a very unstable muse essence. Because as it turned out, she actually had two dreams and didn't know which one to pursue. Well, considering who your VA is, that actually might be the better choice. But yeah, this is actually a difficult conundrum that, ironically enough, Kagari ended up kind of exacerbating by not only being an amazing diva that she wanted to emulate, but also encouraging her to pursue her dreams freely, which ironically became a restraint when it led to her reaching a point of indecision. Fortunately, Kagari was still willing to help guide her through her issues, of course through the power of song. And just for her, she came up with a brand new tune that was appropriately called Only Yours. In this case, it was a song about being true to yourself and not trying to hide it. It encouraged Hasegawa to release all of her passions, which Kagari would even help by joining in. Now personally, I would still say I prefer Over the Blaze just for having much more foot-tapping beats, but this song was really good in its own right. And after a fight that didn't have great animation, but was still well storyboarded with this sequence of Kagari tripping up the knight, we got to see her new finisher that I think I actually liked more than her original, which was already epic. Rengoku wishes his sword was that long. With that, they rescued Hasegawa, who Kagari later talked to after school. And after what was kind of a near-death experience by being attacked by Drun, she had resolved to pursue both of her dreams at the same time. Well, considering that the horse girls are able to pull it off, I don't see why not. On a bit of a side note, I highly recommend checking out Cinderella Grey. You don't have to watch any of the other seasons, and it's basically like a top-tier shonen, but with cute anime girls. But yeah, rather appropriately for a blue girl, she chose the Chiyu option, which I guess could work, at least while you're still young. I mean, she could always stop running when her body inevitably tires out. Regardless, the episode ended with Kagari promising to cheer Hasegawa on as she chased both of her dreams. This was a really good Kagari episode that highlighted the best aspects of the character. It showed off her compassionate, and yet also very understanding and motherly side that really made for some cute moments with Hasegawa. It also helped that they developed the villains a little more, with some small hints that will make the next big battle with them all the more intriguing. While I don't feel like Kagari has gotten quite as much development as her teammates, I would still say she is well characterized through her supportive and comforting nature to other girls of her age. She's very much like the mother of her team, which is a very useful trait when dealing with a girl who was unsure of which of her time and energy consuming pursuits she wanted to commit to. Kagari didn't just give Hasegawa the answer, and instead, through her song, basically said that she'd support whatever choice she made for herself. And yeah, while the choice he made was a bit of a cop-out with it being both, it was still a nice conclusion to their story, and more importantly, a great way for Kagari to unlock her X-Drive song, as we'll call it, by essentially coming up with a song for Hasegawa, which of course she could now use in other situations going forward, but still, it's an interesting way to come up with a new power-up. Meanwhile, the Bad Snatch are still some pretty great villains, as we are getting little hints at their past, and are being given a proper idea of what their current pursuits are. It keeps the show's main conflict engaging, even as these episodes become more individually character-focused. It all makes for, overall, a strong episode for Kagari to show off how her flames can both burn enemies and also warm lost souls. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy running around, well, I think our videos can certainly encourage you to run away. We've got something new coming out almost every day, and some bigger projects in the works right now. Look forward to Kamen Rider Gav. Until then though, farewell for now my friends, and no, there was actually a little more to that volleyball game.
Here comes a spike straight to the man! The man! The legend! His teammates help him
Yeah,
to his
seems
feet.
legit to me.
No!